course. It's day 10 today, and we are going to discuss the most important chapter of Bhagavad-gita, chapter 9. Let's begin by chanting the Mangalasharan prayers. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupaha Kada Mahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishtamamscha Shri Rupam Sagajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Tantan Sajivam Sadavaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Dalita Shri Vishakhanvitam Shcha Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutade Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Prachadine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashatya Deshatadine Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namine Gaur Krishna Namaha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radha Vrinda Vaneshwari Vishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vanchakalpatarurvyasya Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So thank you for joining. We are at the verge of entering into a very confidential knowledge. Secret. Great secret. So in the last chapter, the basic theme that was covered was how the person can go back to God, the spiritual world, by executing Ananya Bhakti. Krishna just hinted at that. He didn't explain Ananya Bhakti. He hinted at Ananya Bhakti, also known as pure Bhakti. Now, how that pure Bhakti has to be cultivated to go back to God, then is explained in chapter 9. Let us try to understand what is the mind of Krishna, what's the mind of God. It's not that easy to understand God's mind. It is so difficult to understand a common man's mind. So how can a common man understand God's mind? But then it becomes possible when God himself, Krishna himself, allows to do that. And Krishna's very close associates, they allow us to have a look into how Krishna thinks. So here, as I explained to you before, we have been talking of this theme since day one, that Bhagavad-gita is comparable to many things. It's comparable to a rescue plan of Krishna for each one of us. It is also comparable to a love letter. It's comparable to a very precious gift by Krishna to each one of us. So if you take it as a love letter, we are actually now going to enter into that part of the love letter which has the most love-filled message. That message which is of pure love. And that pure love is in Sanskrit known as Ananya Bhakti, Shuddha Bhakti, Kevala Bhakti. There are many more names to it. In English, we would call it as pure love or pure Bhakti. This concept was introduced by Krishna in the previous chapters, but now he's going to elaborate it. He's going to explain it further. And this chapter 9, if you closely study Bhagavad-gita, I'm sure sometime in your life you'll take to Gita seriously and study it seriously. Then you'll realize this chapter 9 of Bhagavad-gita is very similar to chapter 7. Very, very similar. to the concepts that Krishna speaks about. But then this chapter is much more deep than chapter 7. It's almost like how chapter 3 and 5 are interrelated. Chapter 3 is entitled Karma Yoga. Chapter 5 is entitled Karma Yoga, Action in Krishna Consciousness. Both sound quite similar. In fact, they are quite similar. The concepts are similar, but chapter 5 is more deep than chapter 3. Same thing happens here also. Chapter 7 introduced bhakti, but then that same bhakti can also be performed at a very high level of purity. So chapter 9 talks about that level of purity. It's deeper than chapter 7, but quite similar. And this time, interestingly enough, Arjuna doesn't prompt Krishna to speak. Arjuna doesn't ask a question that makes Krishna speak. It's Krishna's own love for Arjuna, out of his own sweet will. He is so overwhelmed with compassion for Arjuna and for each one of us that out of his own will, he's pouring out his heart in front of Arjuna. He himself is longing to explain this message of pure love. It should not be surprising to us. Even in this world, we see that people, they act strangely when they fall in love. Of course, that love is not really love, but even if they call it as love, they act very strangely. They start doing things which no one would expect them to do. So likewise, when the Supreme Lord and those who love him, they have very deep exchanges of pure love, they also start acting in ways which may not be really expected. Out of that pure love, Krishna is so overwhelmed here that he begins to speak himself. So he tells Arjuna, Arjuna, now I'm going to tell you the greatest secret, the most confidential knowledge. It's a big secret. Naturally, Arjuna then asks Krishna, why such a favor upon me? What makes me qualified to know that secret which you want to tell me? What's so special about me that you want to tell me this secret? So the first verse of chapter 9 begins like this. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Idam tu te guhyatamam pravakshyami anasuyave jnanam vijnana sahitam yajñatva mokshase shubhat. If you look at this verse and you still remember something from chapter 7, there was the third line of this verse is quite similar to a verse in chapter 7. There also Krishna brought in the terms jnana, vijnana. Here also jnana and vijnana. But in both the chapters, these two terms have slightly different meanings. Depending on the context, the word takes a meaning. So here Lord Krishna says, Arjuna, why am I doing this favor upon you? Because you have one very important quality. And what is that? Anasuyave. You are not envious of me. Now, this is something very important for us to understand. What role envy plays in a relationship? If we are envious of someone whom we closely know and whom we may even appreciate, adore, love, that envy begins due to some reason, and then that envy makes us see fault in that person. Even the good of that person doesn't appear to be good then to us anymore. We start disliking that person. So that person may not have faults. That's how bad envy is. And Krishna is telling Arjuna, because you don't envy me, so whatever I'm going to tell you now, you will accept it without any doubt. You'll accept it wholeheartedly, and I can very comfortably tell it all to you. Another thing, if we are envious of someone, that person will never be comfortable to reveal his or her heart to us. They won't be comfortable to share the innermost truths because they'll be getting a subtle sense that this person won't understand what I'm trying to speak. An example, a simple example to explain. Let's say there is a person who is very great, has many wonderful qualities, have had wonderful achievements in life, but that person will not speak about that in front of anyone and everyone, especially in front of those people who may misuse that information and harm that person in any way that could be done. So that person will be very careful to share the secrets of his, even of achievements, to anyone and everyone. Let's say someone has multi-millionaire dollars in his bank account, then Will that person be actually sharing the exact amount with everyone? This much money I have? No, not always. Only selected people who are very close to one, a person would share. This is my greatness. This is what I possess. This is what all I have. So like that, Krishna also, though he is God and he is the greatest, everything belongs to him. There are some secrets to him also. He has his personal life, feelings, everything. And he is not comfortable to share that with those who are envious of Krishna, who would love Krishna, won't believe in Krishna. So that's why Krishna is saying, Arjuna, because you are not envious of me, I am ready to tell you everything. A very practical lesson for us. If we really want a particular person to become dear to us, and we want to have an intimate relationship with that person, whether that person is our family member, that person is our friend, that person is our guru, spiritual master, whatever relationship, we have to give up envy towards that person. Then only that person will be very comfortable to share what is there in the heart. So superficially, that person may talk a lot to us, tell us many things, but not the innermost things. So Krishna is telling, I will tell you everything. Because you don't envy me, this envy blocks the flow of love between two people. And because you don't envy me, this love can flow freely from my end to your end. So here then another word comes, Guhyatamam. Krishna says, because you are not envious of me, I am going to tell you something most confidential, a big secret or the greatest secret. So let's look at this word, why Krishna uses this word. Guhya is a Sanskrit word, and Guhya means hidden. It can mean confidential, secret. So chapters 2 to 6 of Bhagavad-gita, they were confidential knowledge. Guhya, secret, the knowledge of matter and spirit, means the knowledge of Atma, how Atma is different from matter. Now, one may think this is not so confidential knowledge, but it is actually. If you look at the world population, it is more than 700 crores now, right? If I'm not wrong. Yeah, more than 700 crores. Now, how many people of those 700 crores, human beings, do they really know that there is something as spirit soul? Not many. And then there are many living entities, uncountable living entities in bodies other than human beings. They also don't know about this knowledge. So just to know I am not this body, I am spirit, soul, it is in itself something very special, confidential. So Krishna gave that knowledge in chapters 2 to 6 in detail, and that knowledge will help one to achieve liberation. The goal of that knowledge is liberation. Then Krishna gave more confidential knowledge in the next two chapters, that is chapter 7 and 8. So this is called Guhyatara. Guhyatara means more confidential, because this was knowledge of bhakti. This was not just the knowledge of Atma. This also had knowledge of Atma, Paramatma, and the relationship between them. More confidential. However, because it was not talking about pure bhakti, it was bhakti mixed with yoga, this knowledge will help one to reach Vaikuntha in the spiritual world, enter into the spiritual world, but Vaikuntha planets. Then Krishna tells here, I'm going to give you now most confidential knowledge, Guhyatama, chapter 9. And what is that knowledge? It is knowledge of pure bhakti. What will this knowledge do? This knowledge will help one understand Krishna and then reach Goloka, the most supreme planet in the spiritual world. So Krishna is saying this is most confidential. It is the secret of all secrets. And then Arjuna asks, what is so special about this knowledge? So Krishna says there are 8 characteristics of this knowledge that make it very special. What is that? First, it is Raja Vidya. It's the king of all education. Arjuna, I know you have been to the best Gurukul in the world, and you have also assimilated many different kinds of vidyas in the form of education, but you never got this education. This is the king of all education, and I'm going to give that to you now. Then Krishna says this is the king of all secrets also. Raja Guhyam. This is a secret, much more secret than the secrets kings keep. You know, those who are great kings, they also have great secrets. They don't reveal about their strengths and weaknesses. The enemies, if they come to know about it, they can easily conquer them and rule over them. So Krishna is saying, you as a king have secrets, or great kings have secrets, but this is much, much more. It's king of all secrets. Then Pavitram, purest of all. This knowledge can purify everyone. It is the most pure knowledge. Transcendental, and this knowledge is beyond the modes. You remember, Arjuna, I told you, if you want to go beyond the modes, you need to surrender to me. So even this knowledge is so purifying and transcendental that if you just receive this knowledge, you can go beyond the modes. You can overcome Maya. Then Pratyaksha Avagamam Dharmyam. Pratyaksha Avagamam means, I'm telling you something very interesting now, Arjuna. This knowledge is so special that if you begin to receive this knowledge, from the very beginning, you will have direct experience, direct realization of this knowledge. It will not just remain theoretical to you. And what is the evidence to this? Just to make it simple to understand, I'll try to narrate one true incident during Srila Prabhupada's physical manifestation on the planet. One day, Srila Prabhupada was walking on a beach, as was his regular habit, daily activity. So he was walking on a beach with a group of his disciples, and he was talking to them. They were going through some sweet conversation, even some arguments, philosophical arguments. So Srila Prabhupada asked his disciples, why do you think Krishna is God? What makes you believe Krishna is God? So one of the disciples told Srila Prabhupada, because Bhagavad-gita says so. Bhagavad-gita says, Krishna says himself that I am God. So Prabhupada said, but then why do you accept Bhagavad-gita? I mean, God is himself telling he's God. There has to be some other proof also, isn't it? Krishna is telling I am God. So like that, someone may come and say, I am God. So why do you accept Bhagavad-gita? Now that person, disciple, was a bit confused. Today, why is Srila Prabhupada rejecting the same argument which he speaks in his classes? If someone would have asked this question to him, he would have told the same answer, because Krishna is telling his God. I am just repeating the words of Krishna. Why is he telling that I should not accept Krishna's statement? So then another disciple, he ventured ahead. He wanted to try. He said, Srila Prabhupada, because Lord Brahma says Krishna is God, Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. So Prabhupada then said, have you seen Brahma? Do you really know Brahma exists? And what is the authenticity of the scripture written by Brahma? Again, this puzzled the disciples so much. Well, how is Srila Prabhupada talking like this? Then another person said, Prabhupada, I think Krishna is God because you are telling us that. You told that Krishna is God. Srila said, oh, any person comes from India, an old man, a Swami, and he tells you anything and you accept it. So why you accept that Krishna is God? Just because I am telling you? You are such fools. If I tell you anything, you will accept? Now all the disciples were totally confused and bewildered. What's happening today? Srila Prabhupada is defeating them in such a simple argument. He's not accepting his own points and they are not able to reply. So one devotee then thought for a while and said, Srila Prabhupada, I think Krishna is God because actually since the day I've started practicing devotional service Bhakti Yoga, I can experience Krishna as God. I can feel Krishna as God. I can feel his mercy and kindness. And Srila Prabhupada looked at him, smiled and said, yes, you are correct. Krishna is God because we can experience Krishna very easily. Pratyaksha Avgamam, direct experience of Krishna is possible. Of course, the other arguments which the other disciples were giving were not wrong. Srila Prabhupada didn't mean that they are wrong, but he just wanted to emphasize on another point, another argument, which was based on practical realization, not just theoretical knowledge. So Krishna says, this is Pratyaksha Avgamam. And then it's perfection of all religion. You are confused about, should I do Kshatriya Dharma or should I follow Kula Dharma, this Dharma, that Dharma? I'm telling you, accept this Dharma because this is the highest of all Dharma. And then Krishna says, though it is so great, it is very easy and it is very joyfully performed. You'll be very happy, Arjuna, doing it. And finally, this happiness and this activity is everlasting. It's not that it will end someday. So when Krishna spoke about all this, it is so, interesting, and also it is so appealing. Wow, why would anyone prefer not to accept this knowledge? So Arjuna said, then why don't all accept this knowledge? This is so special knowledge, Krishna, you're giving to me. It's a secret and you're telling to me. But it is so nice, everyone should accept it. So Krishna says, they don't. Why they don't? Because they don't have faith. Ashraddhatanaha. They don't have faith. They don't have the required faith to actually accept this knowledge. So then Arjuna says, I have faith in you, Krishna. I have faith in you. So please give that knowledge to me at least. Krishna says, of course, hear about my remarkable powers then. Then Krishna begins to speak about his powers. Aishwarya Gyan. Aishwarya Gyan means knowledge about one's opulence, one's majesty. And then Arjuna says, yes, I am all ears. I am ready to hear everything you are going to tell me. So now then Krishna is going to begin a new section where he explains his Aishwarya Gyan. What is Aishwarya Gyan? Let me tell this to you before we enter into this topic. Any person has two aspects of his identity. One is, how is that person dealing with the world in general? That is so much related to the profession of that person, the post and position that person has in the society. It refers to the power that person has. And the other aspect of the person is his personal life or his family life. How that person is for the family, for the close members. So that knowledge, which is about the person's power, person's greatness, which makes us respect that person, that is called Aishwarya Gyan. But there is another knowledge. That is not so much knowledge, but it can also be seen like that. And that is about the sweetness of that person. And it is more of an experience than an information. And that is called madhurya. So Krishna has these two aspects, Aishwarya and madhurya. Here Krishna is going to explain his Aishwarya aspect. How he is related to this world. He is God. So how is he maintaining this world? How is he creating it? How everything at the end merges in him. How is managing all this huge cosmic affairs? How does he do that? Something which is mind-boggling, which is really, really awe-inspiring. How does Krishna do that? So Krishna explains that knowledge to Arjuna here called Aishwarya Gyan. It begins by telling that. So these verses are quite technical, very difficult to understand. Verses 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of Bhagavad-gita. And honestly speaking, the little time we have, we cannot go into depth of it. But I'll just give you simple key points which will make you understand it. So Krishna says, Maya tatam idam sarvam jagat avyaktam murtina. I am present everywhere in my unmanifested form. And all beings are in me, but I am not in them. So this is how so puzzling it is. First Krishna says, I am everywhere. Everyone is in me, but I am not in them. Now, how is it possible? You say you are everywhere. So then you have to be in everyone, and everyone should also be in you. But he's saying, I am everywhere, I am in everyone, but not everyone is in me. So then Arjuna said, everything is in you. If I accept that part, do you get burdened by it? I mean, if everything is in you, that means how are you carrying the weight of everything? Everything is in you. All these universes, everyone, all these mountains, rivers, everything is in you. So how are you carrying all that weight? Is it not burdensome? So Krishna says, though everything is in me, all that is created, it does not rest upon me. It doesn't give me any kind of burden. So Arjuna gets confused. How is it possible? We also will get confused if you read these verses. So Krishna says, that's my opulence, Arjuna. That's my inconceivable nature. It is my mystic opulence. I make the opposites meet. I make the things which are contradictory function together. This is my opulence. This is my specialty. So Krishna here in these verses will explain how he is connected to the world and at the same time disconnected from the world. Like how the energies which are running around everything that is happening depend on Krishna, but Krishna does not depend on them. He's the source of everything, but at the same time, he's not attached to anything. He does not associate with those things. The material nature depends on him, but he does not depend on the material nature. Material nature is not free, but he is free. So how is he connected to the material world? Because matter depends upon him. Matter cannot exist without him. Matter cannot function without him. Material energy will deal with matter and the living entities in his supervision, under his supervision. And how is he disconnected? He is disconnected because though all these things happen, it doesn't affect him. So in this way, Krishna explains to Arjuna, and Arjuna then asks a few more questions. If you remain aloof, if you remain far away, as you said, then who does everything? So Krishna, to make it simple, I mean, he says everything gets done by my energies, creation of this world, maintenance of this, destruction of this, everything happens by my energies. And how are they related? Is Krishna's will involved? Krishna says yes. It happens under my will. It's not happening without any supervision. Accidents doesn't take place, It all happens under my will, under my supervision. So he says, Maya dakshena prakriti suyate sacharachara. It's under my supervision, under my eyes. Maya adhyakshena. Everything happens, Arjuna, but I am not so much bothered about it. I am not so affected by it. And to explain this, many examples are given. I'll just give 2 examples. One example is of a king. A king, one person, has huge kingdom. Just like 5,000 years ago, one king would sit on the throne of Hastinapur and rule over the entire planet Earth. That means one king had billions of people subordinate to him, functioning under him. That one king was actually the boss of everyone and everything. And that one king's rules, his ideas, everything were followed throughout the kingdom. Everyone accepted him as the supreme. In that way, everyone were dependent on that king. But at the same time, the king was not personally present everywhere. His ministers and his government, that takes care of all the job. He just has to give a signal. Okay, this is fine, this should get done, and it will get done. The king can happily live in the palace, enjoy with his queen, play with his children, go for hunting, eat nice food, sleep nicely, go to the court, attend the meetings. But he is not involved in every single thing. Things get done by his perfect administration, by the system he made. So in the material world, we have such experience. So that's how Krishna also manages, in a very detached manner, neutral. And then another example Krishna himself gives to explain, a bit complicated, just to make you a little interested in it. I'll speak of that example. Krishna says, consider this sky which you see, consider the sky as an upside down bowl. Upside down bowl. So the sky can be considered as an upside down bowl, like a dome. And within this dome, within this bowl, there is wind. We all know that there is wind inside. So this wind moves freely inside. It can just move around very freely. But the wind cannot move out of the sky, out of that bowl or dome. It cannot go out of that. It will have to be within the bowl. So Krishna said, that's how my administration works. I limit people's activities. I limit the nature's activities. At the same time, I have given freedom to people and I have given freedom to material nature. Just like the wind is limited by the periphery created by the sky, the dome, it cannot go outside that, but it has freedom to move inside anywhere. Like that, Krishna says, I am connected, I am disconnected. I give them freedom, I don't give them freedom. I deal with them, at the same time I don't deal with them. I stay aloof. It is puzzling, definitely, and it will take more time to explain and understand. So Arjuna also gets amazed by hearing all this. And then Arjuna says, Krishna, if you are so great and you have such wonderful powers, I mean, you are millions and millions of times more magical than a magician. You have such wonderful powers. Why don't people really get attracted towards you? I mean, a normal person who can show some magic, that person gets respect from people. That person receives awe from people. Oh, wow, he can do such wonderful things. Krishna, you can do millions and millions of times more wonderful things. So why people don't respect you much? I mean, they just treat you as if you're an ordinary person or you're someone like that. So why so? So Krishna says in the next few verses, yes, it is so because different people, they see me differently. Not all look at me in the same way. And then he presents a list of how different people look at him differently. So it says there is a category of people whom I call fools. They are impersonalists. They think I don't have a form. Or if I have a form, they look at me as an ordinary human being. My body is like their body, and I take birth, I die the way they take birth, they die. They think I also have flesh, bones, and blood inside me. Hmm? So they like think like that. So they are fools and impersonalists. Then Krishna talks about the next category of people. He says, but there are some people who are very great. I consider them as Mahatmas because they know who am I and they worship me with great devotion. Mahatmanastu Mam Partha Devim Prakritim Ashita. They take shelter of my divine energy and they worship me, and they are always engaged in doing different activities. Satatam kirtayanto mam yatantascha drirvataha. They do my kirtan, they worship me, they engage in devotional service with determination, they offer their pranams to me, they are always connected to me. And then Krishna explains about a special category of people, those who are called Gyanis. They have a lot of knowledge. This Gyani is not the one who has knowledge about Krishna. This Gyani is someone who has knowledge about the material world. He's like that sannyasi who has done karma, and because of doing karma has become purified and attained some jnana. So there are three kinds of Gyanis he mentions. One Gyani worships Krishna in oneness, another Gyani worships Krishna in diversity, and another Gyani worships Krishna in the universal form. Again, some very technical terms. So it's given in 9.15. Ekatvena pritatvena vishvata mukham. Ekatvena means he accepts Krishna one as everyone. Means God is you, you are God. We all are God. We all are one. That kind of people. Everything is same. We all are Atma. Finished. We are all Brahman. So that person is called a monist, believes in monism, impersonalism. Another category of people are there who accept that I have these different forms and all are God. Polytheism. Diverse in many, Prithakvena. If they like Ganesha, they will consider Ganesha as the Supreme Lord. If they like Shiva, they'll say Shiva is the Supreme Lord. If they like Surya, they'll say Surya is the Supreme Lord. And if you ask them, what about Ganesha? Oh, he is also God, but I like to worship Surya. For me, Surya is the greatest God. But Ganesha is also God. I don't say Ganesha is not God. I accept Ganesha. So those people, either they'll worship many demigods and consider them as same as me, or they'll consider one of them as equal to me. Diverse in many, Prithakvena. For them, everyone is God. Just add to the list. This person also God, that person also God. No problem. And the last one is universal form. These people, they worship me in my universal form, which means they consider that this universe has a form. Interesting. Now, such a big universe has a form, and that form is God's form. So they worship me in that form. So now these three kinds of people, Krishna has spoken about them in different places. Ekatvena, he has mentioned about them many times. Whenever he refers to the impersonalists, they are Ekatvenas. Then diverse in many are demigod worshippers. He has already spoken about them in chapter 7. He speaks further about them in this chapter. But this category of Vishvato Mukham, who worship the Lord in the universal form, till now Krishna has not spoken about them. He'll speak few verses about them, but in detail when Arjuna asks about in future, then Krishna is going to explain that in chapter 11. That's how the chapter 11 called the Vishwarup Darshan Yoga happens or falls in place, where Krishna shows the universal form to Arjuna. Now, from where it began from chapter 9 because Krishna mentioned it, and Arjuna then later on asked Krishna, can you show me that universal form once, please? You spoke about it to me. So Krishna is going to show that to Arjuna later. So then Krishna begins to explain again this concept of universal form worship. I'm not going to into detail of that. Krishna says, basically it means I am in everything, I am all pervading, I am the cause of all causes, I am the shelter of everything. So he explains few verses explaining these concepts and completes this section of universal form worship. Before I go to the next section, let me just clarify one thing which may come in some people's mind. They may think Krishna is God and he's supposed to be the best teacher. So why is presentation of Bhagavad-gita not so systematic? I mean, he could have presented Bhagavad-gita in a way that if there are 20 topics in Bhagavad-gita, take each topic one at a time, complete one topic and then go to the next topic. If he wants to talk about demigods, just tell everything about demigods and then go to the next topic. Then talk about the yogis, then talk about the karmis, then talk about the jnanis, then talk about the devotees. Why is Krishna jumping from one topic to another topic, going back and forth? I mean, he could have told everything about the demigods in chapter 7. Why is he going to tell again in chapter 9? We may think like that. But we should know that that question is not justified because here we should see what is the form of dialogue that's happening between Arjuna and Krishna. It's not a lecture. A lecture can be always very systematic and thematic, based on themes, because there is one person speaking and there are listeners who are going to just listen. This is a dialogue, it is a samvad, it's a conversation. Conversation means it is not topic based actually, it is person based. Arjuna is asking questions to Krishna and Krishna is giving dynamic answers to those questions. If Arjuna changes the topic, Krishna changes the theme and answers that question which Arjuna asked now. And if then Arjuna wants to go back to the previous topic, Krishna just goes back to the previous topic. You know, so it's a dialogue happening, and just like a dialogue is very dynamic, very spontaneous, it's not so always thematic. People may ask questions out of spontaneity. Any question may come up in mind and they can ask those questions. So that's why Krishna is also answering in that way. It's not a thematic presentation that Krishna is giving, it's a samavad, dialogue, conversation. So now Krishna begins to explain about a little bit about how demigod worshippers, they don't get the benefits that Krishna's worshippers get. He's giving a contrast. How? He explains what are the pitfalls of demigod worship. He says, okay, if you worship the demigods, what will happen, Arjuna? You'll go to heaven. You'll go to the place where the demigods live. Because you have done some good activity, some good karma, it's called punya karma, pious activity. So you'll go to heaven on the basis of that piety. But, you know, the demigods, they have a business mentality with their worshippers. Once you go to the heavenly planet, you take with you some pious credit. As soon as those pious credit get over, the demigods, they don't keep you anymore in the heavenly planet. You know, you can't say, you see, I've been worshipping you for my entire life, or for my past 10 lives, I have been worshipping you. I said you are the greatest, and I'm totally surrendered to you. So please keep me here for some more time. Engage me in your service. No, 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 no. If you have finished the balance of credits, go back to the mortal world. Shine punya madhya lokam vishanti. So the demigods very much deal with the worshippers in a business-minded way. You did this for me, you get this much credit. Now you use it. Once you get exhausted with that credit, nothing between you and me. You can leave this place. You know. So it's like that. They deal with you, or they deal with the worship in this way. And then moreover, they don't even give complete protection to the worshippers. Krishna explains this verse in contrast to the worship, you know, that worshippers of demigod, they do. He speaks in a way that how his protection is so special, but it is contrasting to what the demigods do for their worshippers. So Krishna speaks the verse, Ananya Srintayanto Mam Ye Jana Paripaste Tesham Nityabhyuktanam Yoga Shema Bahamyaham. I'll come to that verse later. Let's just complete this theme now. And then the demigod worshippers, they don't get that kind of protection, the kind of protection I give to my worshippers, my devotees, my servants. And then Krishna says, finally, they are so foolish, they don't understand the demigod worshippers, that they are worshipping me only, but in a wrong way. Instead of approaching the head, they are approaching the subordinates, and they are trying to please the subordinates. The demigods, they work under me. I give them all the powers. If they give some blessing to their worshippers, that blessing also is sanctioned by me. I give all those things, but they don't understand these things, the worshippers of demigods. So they do the worship of demigods, but it is improper. Avidhi purvakam. So like that Krishna explains, and then he ends that section by telling Arjuna, if you worship the demigod, you go to them. If you worship the ghosts, you become a ghost. If you worship your forefathers, you go to them. And if you worship me, you come to me. Simple, very clear. So now what this verse is, Ananyas Chintayantama, and what Krishna is trying to tell here. Krishna is telling, you see, if someone worships me with this mood, Ananya Bhakti, no other shelter, only Krishna is my shelter, then I take care of that person fully. That person can then be, totally dependent on me. Need not bother about himself or herself. I give so much care. I give so much protection. I start serving that person. But the demigods, they don't do that. The demigods, they don't do that. They don't give this kind of protection, the kind of protection I give. And what is that protection? That these people who worship me with Ananya Bhakti, if they lack something, I provide them. Material, spiritual, both. If they have something, I protect it for them. This is what I do for them. So basically, I am always available to them. And then to, illustrate this point, we have so many stories, real stories, pastimes of Krishna. The Krishna has proven, yes, if his devotees, they depend on him, he does everything for them, everything he does for them. So there are many pastimes. One is the pastime of this famous devotee called Arjuna Charya. I am sure you must have heard this pastime before. And there's another pastime, there's so many. This is one. There's another pastime of the king of Jagannath Puri, Purushottam Dev. So I think I should narrate one of those pastimes. I leave it on you. You choose and let me know which pastime you want to hear. Both are sweet, both will take time. So you let me know what you want to hear, which pastime of Arjuna Charya or Purushottam Dev. Okay, it seems on it. Fine. So only 3 people have replied, and 2 go for Purushottam Dev. Okay, majority wins. Okay, 4 people have replied. 2 go for Purushottam Dev, 2 go for Arjuna Charya. So we are in a dilemma now. Which one we should go for? Okay, let us go for Purushottam Dev. Then if you get time, go for Arjuna Charya. So Purushottam Dev pastime is like this. It's a very sweet pastime. Purushottam Dev was the king of Orissa. And this dynasty of kings of Orissa have been coming down since ages. And at present also we have a king there. But that king is now not so much active, doesn't have that many powers as the king used to have before. So Purushottam Dev was a very valiant king, very powerful, influential, and very pious, very devoted to Lord Jagannath. He was becoming famous everywhere. He was conquering new and new kingdoms, and in this way increasing the property of Lord Jagannath. Very handsome, powerful, chivalrous, but was not married. So once he made a tour to South India, and he came across the kingdom of Kanchi. Met the king there, who was also a great king. In fact, the kingdom of Kanchi was bigger than the kingdom of Purushottam Dev. So the king of Kanchi invited him to stay with him, spend some time with him. They had, good days with one another, enjoyed the time, discussed things, politics, administration, kingship. Became very close friends. And then King of Kanchi thought, you see, he's a very powerful king, influential. He's not married. And I have my daughter also who is not married yet. So my daughter Padmavati, why not let me give her hand to Purushottam Dev? In this way, we'll have a very strong alliance between the two kingdoms. It will become very powerful. He proposed, Purushottam Dev agreed, but only the agreement was made. They did not get married yet. After some days, Purushottam Dev left, went back to his kingdom, came to Jagannath Puri. Months passed. The king of Kanchi told his minister, "It has been a long time. Why don't you visit, Odisha? Go and meet our king Purushottam Dev. How is he doing? How is he managing his kingdom? We have only heard about him and his kingdom administration. Personally, I have not witnessed it. You have not witnessed it. So it would be very nice if you once visit him, look at everything. After all, now we are related to one another. My daughter is going to go there." So the minister agreed. He went. He was a very intelligent minister, most close to the king. He went there. He was given warm welcome. Now, just when he arrived there in the state of Odisha, in Jagannath Puri, few days later, there was Jagannath Puri Rath Yatra Mahotsav, festival of chariots, the greatest festival for the devotees of Lord Jagannath. Now there is a custom there, they have a tradition that when Lord Jagannath comes on the chariot, and before the chariot is pulled on that road, the king of the state, personally takes a broom, a golden broom, and starts cleaning the road. So Purushottam Dev took the broom and he was very meticulously cleaning the road. The minister saw this and the minister was very much shocked. He was thinking, my goodness, what is this king? What kind of king is he? He doesn't know anything about culture, about the different levels of people in the society. Why is he doing the work of a bhangi, a street sweeper? I mean, a street sweeper is a very low caste person who has very low position in the society, and they are even not, considered civilized. People keep distance from them; they don't touch them. And this person, this king, look at him. What a lowly person he is. He's brooming the road, street with a broom. Oh my God! How can he be qualified enough to get married to our princess? Not possible. I should immediately go back to my king, inform him. Is Purushottam Dev? He doesn't have proper culture. He doesn't belong to a royal family, it seems. No, we cannot have relationship with him. So he went to Kanchi and he told everything. And the king was also like this minister, not so intelligent. So the king said, this Purushottam Dev, then he has really, cheated on us. I mean, he behaved as if he's a great person belonging to a great dynasty, but he belongs to a low class dynasty. They don't even know the social etiquettes. So you send a message to this Purushottam Dev that what kind of behavior is this? And for the offense that he has committed towards us, we challenge him for a battle. And then he also said something which was very, very hurting for Purushottam Dev. He said, I challenge you in this battle, in this fight. And if Purushottam Dev, you lose this battle, then I'm telling you something. This your Jagannath, I don't know who is he, and you are, cleaning the street before him. I'll bring that Jagannath to Kanchi. In my Kanchi, I have a temple of Ganesha, who is our worshipable deity, and we'll place this Jagannath somewhere back in the corner of that temple. That will be a message to all that Ganesha is greater than Jagannath, and the worshippers of Ganesha, they caught Jagannath and they put him in the backside. This really hurt Purushottam Dev because he was a staunch devotee of Lord Jagannath. And he knows who Jagannath is and he knows who Ganesha is. Ganesha is a servant of Lord Jagannath. So this insult which the king of Kanchi did, to Jagannath, Purushottam Dev took it upon himself. It's not an insult actually to Jagannath, it's an insult to me. Jagannath is my worshipable Lord. And because he has insulted Jagannath, I'm going to accept this challenge. I'm going to fight. So then Purushottam Dev, he agreed for the battle, but then he was a little morose, confused, perplexed, because he knew he had a very small army and the king of Kanchi had a huge army. Even if he tried his best, he would not win. He knew that. So just before the day when he was supposed to march towards the south, he went to Lord Jagannath and started praying to Lord Jagannath. That Lord Jagannath, you see, uh, out of passion, in an impulsive way, I made this statement and I took this decision of accepting the challenge of King of Country. I could have neglected it, some humiliation would have come to me, but now I'm risking the lives of so many soldiers, and then our kingdom may get lost. And if we lose, the greatest tragedy will be that that king will take you from here and put you in that Ganesh temple at the backside. No, 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 this is not possible. I cannot let that happen. So you please do something. Please do something. How to fight, how to win. Help me. He went and prayed to the Lord. Next day, something very interesting happened. Before Purushottam Dev left his kingdom with his army, two soldiers, one riding on a black horse and one riding on a white horse, they fled towards south. Now, meanwhile, during their journey, they came across a small village. They were very good-looking soldiers, long hairs, very strongly built, very good-looking, handsome, and their horses were also very beautiful. So they came to this village, and they were passing by that village when they suddenly saw an old lady. This old lady was carrying buttermilk in an earthen pot. So they stopped by that old lady and said, "What is there in this pot?" The old lady said, "It has buttermilk. Charge. I'm going to the market to trade this buttermilk, and whatever money I'll get, that will be the source of our, maintenance for the whole day." So both of them, they said, "Oh, charge buttermilk, very nice. We are very, very thirsty. We have been riding this horse for hundreds of kilometers. So can you please give this buttermilk to us? We would like to drink some buttermilk. It will quench our thirst." The lady said, "Wow, I got a customer right here. I don't even have to go to the market. Krishna is very kind. Jagannath is very kind. Made my job easier." So then she poured out the buttermilk into glasses and gave to those soldiers. They drank more, and they emptied the entire pot. They drank all the buttermilk, finished the buttermilk fully, completely. After that, they started leaving. And the lady said, "Oh, wait, come on, where are you going? What about my money? You finished all my buttermilk, and you are not even paying any money, you are not giving any indication that you are going to pay." So the two of them, they said, "Actually, we don't have any money." And the lady was now so angry and she was so frustrated. "First of all, you drank all my buttermilk, and then now you tell you don't have any money. You could have told this to me before also, right? Why you did not tell me before? What kind of cheating this is? This is fraud. This is nonsense. You should give me my money. How will I then maintain my family for the whole day?" So one of them was dark in complexion. He had a ring, very beautiful ring. So he took out that ring and gave to this lady. And the lady said, "What will I do of this? I mean, this is not going to help me anyway." So that person said, "You see, we don't have money, but we are soldiers of the great Purushottam Dev. He's our king. So you give this ring to our king. He's going to come soon. He's just behind. You give this king to our king. He'll give you all your money." The lady was crying and said, "What kind of people are they? I had a bad day today. I met them." Anyway, she took the ring and she waited for Purushottam Dev to come. After some time, a huge retinue came there, Purushottam Dev with his army. So the lady stopped them. "Stop, stop, stop, stop." Purushottam Dev, "What happened?" That old lady said, "You see, two of your soldiers, they drank all my buttermilk. They did not give me any money, but they gave me this ring. And they asked me to give it to you. And you will pay me my money. Please give me my money." So Purushottam Dev, he looked at that ring and he realized, he was first of all very surprised. He realized that ring was the ring of Lord Jagannath. He had personally given that ring to Lord Jagannath. So when he saw that ring, he was so happy. He was so happy. But he was not able to understand what's going on. He understood that Krishna, somehow the Jagannath heard his prayer, which he made yesterday, the day before, and there is something going to happen now, but he didn't know what the Lord's plan is. And he became so happy, and he became so grateful towards that lady. He was in so much of awe and reverence towards that lady. Oh, my dear lady, you don't know. You are the most fortunate lady in this world. You don't know whom you met. You don't know who those two people were. You don't know what kind of service you have done. But the lady did not understand much. She was interested in the money. So Purushottam, they said, what to speak of giving you little money? I give you 100 villages. You will be the land owner of those 100 villages. All the tax from those villages will come to you because you don't know who you are. You have been done a great favor by those two soldiers of mine. The lady did not understand what kind of favor was this. But when she got so much of property, then she thought maybe something, they are someone. Then the lady left from there and Purushottam Dev was on his way to south. But before he reached south, he got a message from there that the king of Kanchi is defeated. Who defeated them? And then they got a message. There were two people from your army, one riding a black horse, one riding a white horse, one who looked blackish, another looked whitish. They came, they defeated everyone. And the king of Kanchi has surrendered. Purushottam Dev, he was more than happy. He knew who they were, but he was sad that they left. They did not give that darshan to him. So then when he reached the kingdom of Kanchi, the Kanchi king, the king of Kanchi, bowed down before Purushottam Dev. I have lost everything. Everything is mine. Now you do whatever you want to do with me. He had insulted Lord Jagannath, so King Purushottam Dev wanted to take a revenge. He said, you told me if I lose, you'll bring Jagannath here and put him at the back of the temple of Lord Ganesha. Now let me do something to you. I'll take your Ganesha to Jagannath Puri and there I'll put him in the back of Lord Jagannath. So from there, Purushottam Dev brought the deity of Ganesha, and that deity is still there in Jagannath Puri. If you have been to Jagannath Puri, you'll see that at the back of Jagannath Puri temple, there is a small temple of Lord Ganesha. That deity came from Kanchi. When he was leaving from there, the king said, what about my daughter? Take her also. Purushottam said, which daughter? You rejected me. For you, I was a street sweeper. So I think your daughter is not qualified to marry me. Get her married to anyone. So the king said, no, everything now belongs to you. My daughter also belongs to you. He was very adamant. So the Purushottam Dev, he told to his minister, okay, take her. You take care of her and get her married to any person you like. I don't have anything to do with her. Now this minister of Purushottam Dev was also very intelligent. He knew that his king is angry now, so he's speaking like that. But he didn't want to spoil the life of a princess like Padmavati. So he said, okay, I'll take care of her king. So he brought Padmavati to Jagannath Puri. Jagannath Puri, again the year passed, there was a Rath Yatra festival. And Purushottam Dev was in front of Jagannath Rath Yatra, sweeping the street, roaming the street. That time the minister came and said, my dear Lord, I have a good news. He said, what is that news? I have found a suitable candidate for Padmavati, someone who can marry her. He said, okay, then why bother me? I told you that I have nothing to do with her. You can get her married to anyone. Her father was thinking that she is not qualified to marry the king of Jagannath Puri, the king of Orissa. So you should get her married to a street sweeper. I think that's the best thing for her. The minister said, yes, yes, my lord. Actually, I was thinking of that only, that I should get her married to a street sweeper. But I think the best street sweeper is here in front of me. So why not get her married to him? And when Purushottam Dev heard that, he smiled. He understood what his minister meant. He appreciated the intelligence of his minister. And then they both got married. Now, this story had this very sweet ending, but there are many lessons in the story, and one of those is how Krishna, he does yoga shema bahamyaham. He provides what his devotee lacks, and he protects what the devotee has. Here, he protected the good name, fame of Purushottam Dev, right? And he provided what? He provided his own assistance in the fight in the battle against the king of Kanchi. So in that way, in different devotees' lives, Krishna has shown this spirit of yoga, shema, bahamyam differently. In the story of Arjuna Acharya, it happened in a different way. Then there was a devotee in South India whose name was Vishnu Chittar and Alvar. In his life, it happened in a different way. But as I said, We won't have time to tell all the stories today. So we move on to our next topic, chapter 9. Thank you so much. Arjuna Acharya, maybe some other day will speak about it. Or you can hear Prabhupada also narrates that story. So then Arjuna asks the question, what is the true qualification to serve you, Krishna then? I mean, it's easy to serve you, people can happily serve you, but still you say people don't have faith, they see you differently. So what is really required to serve you? What does one need to have? And then Krishna says, it's love alone. I don't need anything else. If someone has little love for me, that's enough. Patram pushpam phalam toyam yome bhaktya prayachati. Little love, and that little love can be expressed, that whatever love is that can be expressed with little things. I don't need much things. I don't need a lot. Little bit can also satisfy me. If you don't have much, just give me a flower. If you don't have that, give me a little fruit. No, just give me a little water. No, then just give me a leaf, a tulsi leaf, one leaf, that's all. I'm not asking you in plural number. I'm asking in singular number. Anyone can do that. I'm not asking you all these 4 things. I'm asking you just one of them. You give it to me, but if you give with love, that is sufficient to serve me. I need only this qualification, Arjuna. Nothing else. Now, this love is so simple, right? In that sense, it sounds so simple, but such pure love is not that easily found. So Arjuna says, Krishna, what if someone doesn't have this simple, pure love? This is very rare. So Krishna says, okay, if you don't have that kind of love, yad karoshi yad ashrashi yad joshi dadasi yad tapasyasi kandeya tat purushamadarpanam. If you don't have love for me, at least start somewhere, Arjuna. Whatever you do it for me. If you like to fight, you fight for me. If you like to cook, you cook for me. If you like to make money for me. If you like to be a student, be a student for me. If you like to study Veda, study it for me. If you like to give charity to people, be generous and kind, do it for me. Whatever you do it for me. If you can't love me, if you cannot think of me, at least give the results to me. That much you do. Now, these 2 things are quite different. In the previous verse also, Krishna is asking of giving something. Give a flower, a fruit, a leaf, little water. In the next verse, he's also telling whatever is there, you give to me. So what is the difference between them? In both, giving is involved. The difference is, in the previous case, when it's based on pure love, one does not just give to Krishna, but also thinks of Krishna in a loving way. He's always thinking of Krishna out of love and then gives to Krishna. Externally, it's expressed in that way. But in the second case, that person may not be always thinking of Krishna, may not always love Krishna. In fact, love other things more than Krishna. Love one's own work, one's own family, one's own material life, everything more than Krishna, but then still is ready to give certain things to Krishna. So this category is lower than pure love, that you do everything for Krishna. You don't think of Krishna much, but you do it for Krishna. Previous case is you think of Krishna out of love. So much that even if you don't give much, Krishna will be more happy. So that's pure love. And then Krishna, in the last section of this chapter, explains certain things which are very confidential. How? Here Krishna reveals, Arjuna, you see, though I am God and I have my majestic nature, but I am also a person. And that's why I have also qualities of a person. Which means, being a God, though I should not be doing these things, I end up doing these things for my devotees. And that's just because I love my devotees so much. So this section talks about how Krishna shows special favors to his devotees. And that's because he has feelings, he is a person. He's not just a person without any feelings or just like a robot, unbiased. No, Krishna says, I am biased. I do show favor to my devotees. I am personal. I have personality, I have feelings. So then he explains these verses. Samoham sarvabhuteshu name dveshasti na priyaha. Though I am equal, I am neutral because I have to give justice to everyone. If they do good, I give them good results. If they do bad, I punish them. I do that. That's the role of me. I behave like like the super soul. I behave in a balanced way, But at the same time, those who worship me, I show them special favor, some special kind of favor. And what is that favor? So that talks about Krishna's sweet personal nature. He's equal to all, but specially inclined to a devotee. Then, if a devotee does some mistake, Krishna excuses that easily and even purifies that devotee. It's a favor. Actually, the laws of nature would not have allowed that. Krishna's own system would not have allowed that. But this is Krishna's favor, special favor. So he speaks this, Abhichet Suddharacharo, Vajate Mam Ananyabha, Sadhureva Samantavya. So such verses that Shipram Bhakti Dharmatma, very soon that person will become a great soul, even if that person is having faults in him, but that person is my devotee. And then Krishna says, I am so personal in nature, Arjuna, that even those who are most unqualified, even if they will approach me, whom people consider most unqualified, even if they approach me, I become attained by them. And if such people can attain me, Arjuna, then what to speak of you? You are a king, you are a Rajarishi, you are saintly in nature. Will you not attain me, Arjuna? Of course you will attain me. So don't have any doubts of you coming back to me. Anyone can come back to me. I deal with my devotees in a very personal way. Then at the end of this chapter, this is the most important verse of Bhagavad-gita in one sense. Krishna says this, Manmana bhava mad bhakto madhyajimam namaskuru mam evashyasi yuktvevam atmanam mad parayanaha. Actually, this is where Bhagavad-gita ends, because this is the most important instruction of Gita and Krishna has given it here. Everything that Krishna had to speak in Gita is done actually. Chapter 9 means everything is spoken. But then why more 9 chapters in Gita? That we'll see in our next class, right? So here Gita ends. 34th verse in Bhagavad Gita is the most confidential instruction of all the scriptures, Shastras. How we know that? All the scriptures, the Vedas, they are compared to a cow. Sarvo Panishado Gavo, compared to a cow. And then cow's most essential thing is the milk. And that Gita, the knowledge of Gita is compared to that milk. But the essence of Bhagavad Gita are in the middle 6 chapters of Bhagavad Gita, chapters 7 to 12. And the essence of those 6 chapters are in chapters 9 to 10, the middle. So you see, the Vedas, you go to the essence of it, the Gita. In Gita, you go to the middle of it, 7 to 12. Then in 7 to 12, you go to the middle of it, chapters 9 to 10. And where will be the most hidden, confidential, pure instruction of Bhagavad Gita? In the middle of chapter 9 and 10, which means at the end of chapter 9 and in the beginning of chapter 10. Verse 9.34 is the last verse of chapter 9. It is in between 9 and 10. It's in middle. So this is like you have a box. You open that box, there's another box. You open that box, there's another box. You open that box, there's another box. And then at the end, inside a small box is a most valuable diamond, which is much, much, much more valuable than all the boxes combined together. That's how this verse is. Most special, most precious, most confidential. That's the most hidden, protected, covered from every side. And that's how Krishna ends this chapter. The yoga of purest knowledge, the yoga of pure love. 34 verses, Raj Vidya Raj Guhya Yoga. How to go back to Krishna by pure devotional service. We learn many lessons in this chapter. I'll quickly go through that. First, envy blocks love. So if you want people to open up their hearts to us, we should not envy them. The less we envy them, the more they'll be comfortable with us and they'll share the innermost secrets of their heart with us. Then the language of love is something very special. Krishna speaks about it. It's unspoken but heard. When Krishna is telling in Ananayashram Deyantu Mam, he's saying that even if such devotees, they don't ask me for what they need, I know about that. And I fulfill those desires. So that's how love is. In love, you don't have to always tell the other person what that person should be doing or what you expect from that person, because there's heart-to-heart connection with that person. Though the words are unspoken, but they are heard by the other person. The other person understands what the person whom I love really wants from me, is expecting from me, and what I should be doing. So that's a very special language. Unspoken but heard, the language of love. Then when there is love, a little is seen as a lot. When there is no love, a lot is seen as a little. In any relationship, when there is love, we'll be always grateful for whatever little comes. But when we don't have love, then even if a lot is given to us, we'll think, "Oh, it's not much, it's not sufficient." So Krishna is saying, because someone loves me, if that person gives me one leaf, one flower, one fruit, little water, which is insignificant, I'll accept it. Because there is love in that, and I accept that love. But if someone does not have love for me, then even if that person gives me so much, it's not very, appealing to me. It's not very fulfilling to me. Then two more very important lessons we learned in this chapter. One, God is equal, and at the same time, because God is a person, he keeps the principle of equality, but this principle of equality also means the more sincere someone is, the more surrendered someone is, that person should also be given more favor, right? Equality is in the attitude, but in expression of love, it's not the same. Krishna expresses his love, his reciprocation in the way the other person has approached Krishna, but Krishna, as in principle, is ready to love anyone and everyone. So it's equal in that principle. Okay, you want to love me, I love you. I won't hate you because you belong to a particular species of life, or you have taken birth in a particular place, or you are belonging to a particular caste, you have a particular kind of body, you are rich or you're poor. No, I don't discriminate on that basis. If you want to love me, I am ready to reciprocate with you. But again, how much you love me, I'll reciprocate accordingly. So I am equal in my dealings. That means I give more to those who deserve more, and I give less to those who deserve less. That is also equality. Equality doesn't mean I should give equal to all. No, it means I give as much as that person deserves. So I'm equal in that principle. And because I'm a person, so I deal in a personal way. I'm not impersonal. I deal with people the way they want me to deal with them. So that is Krishna's speciality. Krishna deals with people the way people want to deal with them. People want him to deal with them, and that's why he's able to have a relationship with each and everyone. So we'll stop here. Thank you so much. Today's session went a little longer. I'm sorry for that. I hope you enjoyed it. If any question or doubt, you can ask. You have a question? Krishna needs only love, but I feel more love towards Sri Ram. So will that work in bhakti towards Sri Krishna? Will Sri Krishna accept my love through Sri Ram? So if you love Lord Ram more, then there's nothing wrong in that. Sri Krishna will accept your love as Lord Ram. Simple. Lord Ram and Lord Krishna are not different from one another. It's Krishna who is manifesting himself as Lord Ram to reciprocate with his devotees who have special feelings towards Lord Ram. So it's not that we have to worship Lord Sri Ram or love Lord Sri Ram to please Krishna. You worship Lord Sri Ram and Lord Sri Ram will be happy with you, and that's okay. So if you worship Lord Sri Ram, you worship. Why should you want Krishna to accept your love through Sri Ram? Worship Ram is also Supreme Personality of God. Okay, I hope this answers your question. Another question: what is an exact meaning of envy in a relationship? Well, envy in a relationship means that when we are in a relationship, if our love towards that person is not pure, then that feelings we have towards that person may become affected by envy. And it's possible. Just imagine if we can envy God, that means we can envy any person. If we can envy someone who is so close to us and without whom we cannot exist, so we can envy anyone, right? Envy means basically we are not happy to see that person happy. We want to take that person's position. We want to get superior to that position, to that person, and take that position. So that's envy. You don't really like the person being like that and enjoying life like that. this comes because of selfishness. This comes because of we not appreciating that, okay, that person is happy, let that person be happy, and my happiness is in that person's happiness. So that's very subtle sense of selflessness. This is very subtle. It's not there. Envy comes. You become envious of that person. Hari Leela Mataji.
Yes, Hari Krishna Prabhuji. Thank you so much for a wonderful class, and we really absorbed in that Purushottam Day's pastime. Very nice. Thank you. Prabhuji, my question in the beginning of 9th chapter, you mentioned that everything is as per the will of the Lord. So all this bimari and all this corona and COVID across the world, also that is will of the Lord? And if yes, why is he doing this?
Well, nice question. So yeah, everything is the will of the Lord, which means whatever is happening in this world is also His will. But then His will is not His independent will. When it comes to dealing with the material world, His will is only a reciprocation of what the people of this world do. So people of this world have done certain actions in the past, and those actions had to come in the form of some reaction, right? That reaction, if it was a good action, it will come as a good reaction. If it's a bad action, it will come as a bad reaction. So because people they have committed such activities in the past, which which needs, for which they should be punished. They should be given the they should be shown the real card. They should be punished for that. So Krishna's will is acting in this way. Time factor of Krishna is acting in this way. It's not happening accidentally. It's not that people are innocent and that's why they are dying. No. It's a reaction for the collective karma of planet Earth and the people living on planet Earth. It's coming in that form. So Krishna's will is not based on cruelty. It's not that he's acting out of cruelty. It's just that he has chosen a time when the reaction of the people should come back to him. In that way, his will is acting.
Okay, thank you.
So Krishna, when he is acting as Paramatma, we should know that his will is functional in this way that he decides when the person should get the reaction, what's the proper timing, how much amount the person should get the reaction. But he does not decide the action of the person which will cause that reaction. That reaction has come to us because of our own individual deeds. It's just like a criminal. If that criminal does a mistake, then the judge passes a judgment. You should be hanged or you should be sentenced to jail for 20 years, 10 years. Now that judgment has been passed by the judge. If the judge would not have passed, then that thing would not have been executed. But the judge did not pass that judgment based on some whimsical will of his own. Okay, I like this criminal, so I think I should not punish him. I don't like this criminal. He should be killed, sentenced to death immediately. No, not like that. The judge judges on the basis of the past activities of the criminal, but he has to pass the judgment. That's why his will is also important. Likewise, Krishna's will is there. Things cannot happen without his permission. But at the same time, his permission is not a whimsical permission or whimsical decision. It is based on calculation of our own past activities. So we can't blame him. Can't blame him that you are causing people to die or this disease is there because of you. It's because of people's actions.
So, Prabhuji, we should just continue to surrender, continue to call out and pray.
Yes, we should do that. And in fact, for devotees, they did not have to worry about it because in such situation, even if devotee's physical body gets damaged or they die, Krishna is going to take care of their spiritual progress anyway. We have to die someday. Either we die because of COVID-19 or we die because of some other reason. We cannot live eternally. So for non-devotees, this is something can be seen as a big problem. But devotees, it's the same thing. Whether die because of this reason or that reason, doesn't matter. Ultimately, the destination is going to be much brighter for them.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, everyone, and I really appreciate you stayed longer today, 20 minutes more than actual time. I hope it was beneficial. See you again tomorrow.